let's talk about these Doge dividend checks that everybody's talking about this week. And I know you tweeted out that you're gonna. Does everybody want like a $5,000 check in the mail? It sounds kind of good, right? And the best part about it would be knowing where it came from. That's $5,000 that you sent them last year.
Totally, it's money that's taken away from things that are destructive to the country, and from organizations that hate you to you. That's awesome.
Does it seem? I mean, have you talked?
I mean, that's like glorious. That's like
it's the best.
The spoils of battle, you know.
I like that. Is there traction on that?
Yeah. So I talked to the president. He's supportive of that, and so it sounds like that's something we're going to do.
Yep.
So as we're finding savings, that's going to translate directly to reductions in tax. So
yeah, I think they fired 6,000 people at the IRS today. And I think Lutnick said last night that they're talking about shutting down the IRS. And I think it's fair. I think people should realize this is. I mean, the amount of money that we send Washington like $5 or $6 trillion a year. That is such an ungodly amount of money. I mean, what do they say? They say like a trillion seconds is like 30 years or something like that. I mean, that's how much we send them, and they seem to never have enough. There must be a lot you can cut.
No, absolutely. People ask me, what's the most surprising thing that you've encountered when you go to D.C., when you're in D.C.? And I said, well, the most surprising thing is the scale of the expenditures and actually how easy it is to, when you add caring and competence where it was absent before, you can actually save billions of dollars, sometimes in an hour.
Yeah,
like it's wild.
And then they scoff at it and say, "Oh, a few billion here, there." I mean, the way they're talking about it, you can see they don't care. It's such little money compared to how much they're used to wasting. That's what's really scary.
Exactly. But obviously, it just shows that they really lack empathy for the average taxpayer who's working hard, paying taxes, and then they say, "Oh, $1 million doesn't matter." I'm like, I think it matters a lot, people. So what are you talking about?
I'd like to have it. Let me ask you a question. I know the president fairly well, watched him survive 2 assassination attempts. Had the first one not happened, the second one would have gotten him. It was very, because without those extra guys, they would have never seen that gun poking through the fence at the golf course. I saw the crew that you
like mind-blowing that this has happened? I mean, it just, and what, by the way, why do we still know nothing about that guy in Butler? What's going on? But Cash is going to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, there you go.
By the way,
Confirmed just a couple hours ago, but I saw that the security detail that you had come in is enormous.
Well, it's not that enormous. Maybe it should be bigger. I don't know.
I think you could probably afford it. But I mean, how concerned are you about your safety? Dealing, I mean, you are a wanted man. Are you nervous?
So, look, I'm open to ideas for improving security. I have to tell you, I don't actually have a death wish. I think. But it's not that easy. I mean, but I have I've had even people like President Bukele from El Salvador who managed to put in prison 100,000 murderous thugs, and he was he called me. He's like, I'm worried about your security. I'm like, you're worried about my security? I'm like, what? Okay.
I mean, talk about guts to do that down there. I mean,
totally,
and survive.
I was like, how did you put all those thugs in prison without dying? Because it seems like that would have been not easy, Well,
there's the president has one of his top attorneys is now investigating, I guess, Chuck Schumer for threats against SCOTUS, congressman on the Democrat side, who's saying, basically saying we're going to bring a war to you, like a fight to you. I mean, the rhetoric. You guys are screwing with things that are not supposed to be messed with. And
we're fighting the Matrix.
There's a lot of people that really don't want that to happen.
Yeah, we're fighting the Matrix big time here. But it's got to be done.
Yeah.
It
certainly does. What's going on with? Tell us about Fort Knox. There's Kentucky. It's a military base. It's a ton of gold, tons and tons and tons of gold.
5,000 tons of gold, or
5,000 tons of gold are there in the ground, and this. I mean, it's a very secure thing.
We all want to see it.
I'd love to see it.
This is your gold, by the way. It's the public's goal.
Do you think it's not there?
I don't know. But I think
You just want to see it.
Yeah, we want to go see it and just make sure like somebody did a spray paint some lead or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is this real gold? You might have to fight at the bar, you know?
Didn't it?
But I think, honestly, you know, part of this also is just like, let's have some fun and you know, like I said, all this gold in Fort Knox, it's the public's gold. It's your gold. So, like, I think you have, like, a right to see it.
You want to take a tour?
You know? Yeah. I think we should have a tour. And then the president last night was like, I think he's in favor of it. That would be cool. And then it should be like a live tour. Like, you can see what's going on, open the door, like, what's behind it.
Well, and there's,
you know, I think I'd watch that.
Oh, are you kidding?
Yeah.
I mean, what is 5,000 tons of gold look
totally.
like?
What does
How
it
big
look
is
like?
that? Is it the size of this?
It's got to be pretty
stage?
big, you know?
It's got to be a lot of
Maybe
gold.
there's some other stuff in there. Like, just walk around, like, I don't know, maybe they got some other stuff in there.
Are you thinking about auditing the Federal Reserve as well, which is obviously is a
Yeah, sure.
regulatory
All right.
economy? I imagine you think the waste has got to be everywhere.
Yeah, no, waste is pretty much everywhere. People ask, like, how can you find waste in DC? I'm like, look, it's like being in a room, you know, and there's target. The wall, the roofs, and the floor are all targets. So it's like you're gonna close your eyes and go shoot in any direction. You can't miss, you know. So it's pretty wild. Like you just push on things a little bit and you save billions of dollars. Like just a little bit, you know. It's wild.
It's scary, isn't it?
That's why I say it really is underrated. Where if you add caring and competence, how much things improve.
Yeah.
And you know, and we just find so many totally crazy things, which, you know, we're sharing with the public. We post everything we learn. You know, just you know, so you can see it. You know,
What do you? I mean,
and like it's like, isn't it like it's totally wild? Like we just did like a check the database on Social Security. Like it says how many alive Americans eligible for Social Security are there? And according to the database, it's over 400 million. And we're like, wait a second.
And how many are getting?
How old are they again?
Yeah.
And then like we found like one person in there is like 360 years old. I'm like, what, they know Ben
Or 100
Franklin or
years before the
something? I
revolution.
mean,
Yeah.
you know, America didn't exist before that time. Like so
Yeah, we were colonies.
you know, maybe it's just me, but I think it's a red flag. I don't know.
But are there indications that there were checks going to those people or any of those people?
Well, yeah.
That's, I guess, the question, right?
This.
I mean, I get the Social Security Administration is dumb, but are they paying these people? Are they that dumb? I don't know.
A bunch of money is going out from the Social Security Administration, and in fact, from all entitlements programs.
72 billion in waste in like 7 years. That's 10 billion a year.
Well, I think the
Fraudulent payments.
the rough estimate from the Government Accountability Office is over $500 billion of fraud a year. $500 billion.
And how long at a time?
Per year.
Per year on Social Security?
No, on all
On all government.
on all entitlements.
All entitlements.
All
Okay.
entitlements. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sort of actually makes sense when you look at the thing from a top level and say, like, okay, there's $7 trillion of spending by the government. What percentage do you think is fraudulent? Okay, exactly. Like a conservative estimate of the $7 trillion would be 10%. Conservative.
Probably a little higher than that, yeah.
Exactly.
Feels like a quarter out of every dollar, right?
But if the fraud's only 10% of $7 trillion, you've got $700 billion of fraud.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's like really easy to take advantage of the federal government. It's very easy. So,
Very easy. Look at COVID.
Yes.
Everybody got rich during COVID. I mean, look at all these scammers. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It looks like in terms of the COVID payments, there was something like $200 billion of COVID payment fraud taken by fraudsters out of the country.
Out of the country.
That's like I think listen, if there's going to be fraud, it should at least be domestic.
Yeah.
So, you know, but they managed to get $200 billion out of the country. I'm like, what? Didn't we notice that?
Let me ask you, let's do immigration here for a second. You know, there's this move now that Trump's latest thing is that he's going to cut funding any kind of money that ends up in the hands of illegal immigrants. So if you're funding these sanctuary cities and states, that's how they thrive, right? They're paying for these hotels. That's all federal money. If you got a hotel in your city in New York, you got all these hotels full of migrants. That's not state money. That's the feds are covering that. He's going to cut all that. It's really hard to deport 15 million people. And it seems like the move now is, let's see if we, especially at the rate that we're going, it seems like the move now is, let's make it so that they leave on their own. If there's no longer a dole system for them, if they can't get their hands on hotel rooms and money, they're going to go back, especially if there's no work.
Well, I think it's really important for people to understand that the Biden administration sent any possible money that they could if there was money they could send to facilitate and amplify illegal immigration, they sent it. Okay, they took money from FEMA meant for helping Americans in distress and sent that money to luxury hotels for illegal immigrants in New York. That is an outrage. They actually did that. And not only that, even after the president signed an executive order saying it has to stop, the FEMA, the sort of whatever deep state bureaucrats still pressed send on $80 million last week to go to the Roosevelt Hotel in New York and other places last week. And now they're mad that it got stopped, and they're like trying to sue to have it be restored. It's like the gumption is.
You think they're creating a new voter class? Would you think that was the goal when they opened up the borders for 4 years? Create a new voter class, get them citizenship, get them in. Green cards, vote.
A lot of these things, like, you don't actually have to assume some grand conspiracy. You just need to look at basic incentives,
benefits.
So if the incentives, fundamentally, if the probability that an illegal is going to vote Democrat at some point, whether it's cheating, but eventually they can become citizens. But if the probability is like 80-90%, just look at California, which is supermajority Dem, and then the incentive is to maximize the number of illegals in the country. That is why the Biden administration was pushing to get in as many illegals as possible and spend every dollar possible to get as many, because every one of them is a customer, every one of them is a voter. And so the whole thing was a giant voter importation scam.
Pretty obvious.
Very obvious. And then moreover, they actually created the CBP1 border app thing, where they were, which is like where they would literally fly people in. It's not like like at the point at which people are being flown in at your expense,
sending planes,
like building a wall
up,
doesn't
fly
matter.
them over the border.
Yeah, they're literally flying them in.
No other country in the world would do something like this. Nobody is this stupid.
Yeah, and then we found that it was like a $100 million contract given to some guy in London, actually, oddly enough, for the CBP1 app. So they're flying illegals into the swing states. And if you've got like a margin of victory of maybe 20,000 people, and you fly 200,000 illegals into that state, it's not going to be a swing state for long.
Change the numbers eventually. Maybe in 4 or 8 years, you're talking about
it's just a
perpetual
matter
power.
of time.
It's a long game.
It's just a matter of time. So it might take like a year for an asylum seeker or something to get a green card, then 5 years for the citizenship. It's an investment that is guaranteed to pay off. Just a question of when.
They all remember who brought them in and who left them here.
Exactly.
I want to go back. I want to talk about Biden.
This is a big deal. Like I think a lot of people don't quite appreciate that this was an actual, real scam at scale to tilt the scales of democracy in America.
It's treason.
Treason.
One more Biden question. I remember when